What's going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about NIO. I want to go over some of the data points, what's moving it today, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up, and with that, let's get right to it. So NIO is up 1.59%, 480 the high, 463 the low. So it did get dragged down with the broader market initially, but we did see some good institutional transactions that kind of pushed it higher. NASDAQ down 1.13, S&P down 1.04, and then Dow is down 0.9. So today, not necessarily the best. A lot of that is stemming from American data that did come out, and normally that would actually push NIO down through algorithmic trading, but there's a lot of good things that did come out to kind of counter that. So when it comes down to NIO, they're not the only ones really in the green. A lot of Chinese stocks are in the green. So Li is up 1.9 and XPeng up 5.97, largely because of this right here. So this week, we kind of knew that we were going to get some general news, nothing concrete for stimulus. And it looks like the committee did see that they might fall short on their kind of growth targets. 5%, I believe that's what their target is. Currently, it's sitting roughly around where they estimate, about 4.5. So there is going to be some sort of stimulus in the foreseeable future. Markets are liking that. So like I said, even though there's nothing really concrete being decided right now, markets are kind of jumping to the conclusion. So that's kind of a good thing for Chinese stocks. Aside from that, though, more specific to NIO, the only thing that came out was this. So Firefly enters Thailand. So this is their second right-hand driving market, which is rather odd because I do believe that they stated that the UK was going to be the second. But nonetheless, Thailand, good stuff. And I guess just maybe proximity. Maybe they're doing it that way. Or maybe geopolitical issues. Maybe they're waiting for China and EU to come to some sort of deal, possibly. But nonetheless, in the foreseeable future, UK should be added. So we'll be seeing that. And I feel like that will be a pretty good catalyst, in my opinion. But nonetheless, this is equally as good. But I think that the market's really favoring this news rather than anything. Looking at shorts are increasing 173,000 shares, but they're not really doing that much because normally, especially on a Friday, Thursday, Friday, they like to suppress NIO below key strike prices. So I think in general, NIO, like the chances of NIO hitting $5 today is kind of off the table. So they didn't really have to do all that much. So this is just them maintaining their shares, kind of keeping NIO in check somewhat. So shorts, like I said, increasing 173,000. 7.82% of the free floats being shorted, works to 159 million shares overall being shorted. Looking at the options, 2.7 million in calls, 2.04 in puts. 48% of all the options being done are neutral in nature. And the reason why it's neutral is when a large entity kind of eats up both the bid and the ask, it's very hard to distinguish whether they're bullish or bearish. So these are the kind of two big transactions in question. Based on the timestamp, it looks like it's probably the same entity right there. So there was a $5 call and a $4.50 put. So yeah, looks pretty standard stuff. Nothing really crazy. So in my opinion, the $4.50 was a sell. And then the $5 call similarly was a sell. So they're kind of assuming that it's going to stay within this range up until possibly June 18th. So let me know your general thoughts on that in the comments below. Aside from that, from a bull standpoint, you see a consensus for it to recover next week to roughly around 550 to 6. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 450. So definitely interesting stuff. This is the open interest. So if NIO was to have closed above 5, then you could have had a nice little push higher going into next week because there is 17,000 at that 5. Open interest and roughly around 3,000 at the 450. So you're not going to see any gamma squeeze or anything like that. Only one transaction occurring on the secondary market above $100,000, and it is for 140,000. So big money, not really doing that much. But on the dark pool, this is one thing that really started to push it higher, especially in the morning. So a couple of big transactions, 1.34, and as I've mentioned, Darkpool is meant to be anonymous. It's rather difficult to distinguish whether they're buys or sells, but again, based on the price action, it is fair to assume that a lot of this is actually linked to hedge funds buying. So over the last week, we've had kind of a lot of rotations, hedge funds buying, selling, and this is something I believe I brought up like 2 videos ago, that a lot of hedge funds and institutions, from what I can see, are more favoring swing trades rather than anything. So they're not really investing in the long term. So I think that's just a lot of geopolitical issues and so forth. With it right now at 479, it is trading between this pivot and this S1, so 488 in the next couple of trading days. So next week, that's going to be the key level to watch for it to get above. And this S1 has not been touched in a while now. But aside from that, on the actual chart itself, this is where it really does need to kind of show some improvement. It needs to get above this 50-day moving average, and that's sitting at 484. Similarly, it wasn't touched whatsoever. So over the next little bit, that really needs to be hit. If not, you most likely will be seeing some consolidation. But then again, clearly a lot of Chinese stocks are moving higher just on the hope of stimulus. So if there is some actual concrete stuff that does come out, then you could see some crazy price action. So maybe easily getting above that 50 and 10-day moving average. But right now, stochastic RSI is at 20, so arguably considered oversold. So that's, of course, really attributing to NIO's green day today. So let me know your thoughts on NIO. This is a very quick video, just summary of what's happening, what's influencing it, and so forth. So hopefully everyone has a good weekend. Stay tuned for my video over the weekend where I go over some expectations and so forth. One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. Put out daily, day trades, numerous swing trades. Worthwhile to pop over there and check that out. With all that, appreciate all of you watching.